All right. Well, what a joy and an honor to be here today. I'm Jenny with the Wallet Group, Keller Williams Realty, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I get to spend the hour chatting with my business coach, Jordan Freed. Jordan, I made a post the other day to get people to sign up for this, and I kind of told them that you make me cry sometimes. So I don't know. I'm just saying. Are we gonna have any tears on this session? Or...
Jenny, I think by now you probably realize that I can't make you do anything. And so that's your interpretation of what's happening that's creating that response. I love how you always try to pass responsibility on to me, and I'll just keep handing it back, if that's okay with you.
And all you people watching are my witness. Welcome to my world. There we go. Well, Today, Jordan, you had offered your time so graciously. Initially, the goal was to just add value and give back, like we both love to do anyway. And, even then folding in some of our local business owners, small business people who maybe haven't heard the language that we speak all the time from this little book called Shift by Gary Keller and Dave Jinks and Jay Papasan. I mean, it's a part of us. It's, second on the list of most important things in our lives behind MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And so that's what today is about. We're going to tackle some of the tactics that really help us get into activity, stay focused, positive attitude, and all that good stuff. I'm going to really let you take it away. I'll let you first just introduce yourself and share, your background working with business people. And then I have some questions and we can just have some fun. Sound good?
Yep, that's awesome. And hopefully no tears, right? Unless they're a joy.
No tears today. Yes.
Yeah. So my name is Jordan Freed. I'm a MAPS executive coach. I've been in real estate since I was 15 years old is when I joined my first real estate office and have never left the industry. And I, in 2006, joined Keller Williams and started my first team in Kansas City. And then
Awesome. You froze. Oh, Jordan. Oh, fun. Well, you guys, Jordan has frozen. So this is fun. Good times. We spend so much time every day on Zoom, and even though we should be masters of Zoom, things still happen and technology happens. So that's awesome. Let's see if he needs to come back. You guys just want to watch me give him a call. Dude, where'd you go? Oh, wow. That's good stuff. Well, this is fun. We're just going to keep rolling. So what we're going to talk about today are the first 5 tactics of Shift. And let's just call him, see what happens. This will be fun. You disappeared. Oh, okay, great. Awesome. Bye. Well, this is great. He is switching over to another computer. So in that case, oh, there he is.
Okay, so can you see me now?
That's hilarious. Oh, that's hilarious. And I see James Shaw is watching. Oh my gosh, like all these professional Zoomers. Oh boy, this is fun. Okay.
Yeah, that's internet in Kansas, I guess. So we'll just blame them, right? So, okay, real quick, I'm a full-time MAPS business and executive coach. So I help people realize what it is that they ultimately want to do with their businesses and with their lives. And I've lived in a very interesting laboratory for the last 5 years. I've conducted about 11,000 one-on-one coaching calls. And so I get to see the insides and outsides of amazing people like Jenny, their businesses, their lives. And it's just, it's an amazing experiment and an amazing group. It's really cool.
Well, you coach, some of the brightest, the biggest of mega agent real estate teams, and you also have coached non-real estate people as well. And maybe some people who aren't in real estate are watching. Do you feel that our businesses cross paths when it comes to having plans and running a successful team and business?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because I'm really, if you're not with Keller Williams, or I should say you're not an agent, not a real estate agent, I really want to encourage you to read the book Shift. Because, one of the things that's interesting, Jenny, is that Keller Williams was named the #1 training company by Training Magazine for so many years in a row. They finally retired our jersey and just said, you guys can't play anymore. And if you ask any KW agent that's been around for a while, how much of what you learn in Keller Williams is industry specific, it's only about 10%. 90% of what we learn is business. And so that book Shift, the one that you showed earlier, that is a business book. And if I owned a small business outside of real estate right now, with what's going on, I would be digging in and reading that book. Because it really is applicable to any business. Yeah.
All right, so let's just dive in. Let's get to the meat because I know we want to leave time at the end where people can ask questions because everyone wants to pick Jordan Freed's brain. There's a lot in there. So the first tactic in the book Shift is get real, get right. How do we actually do that?
Great question. So getting real, get right first is understanding I think what keeps people from achieving their goals are the 3 F's. And so the first F is fear. And so we're going to talk a little bit about today how to pivot from fear, and something recently I've learned. If you've heard me on a Zoom call over the last few weeks, you've heard this before, so I apologize, but it's worth repeating. The second F is financial. And so we're going to talk about what we can do to re-marginalize your business, to re-budget it so that you can not only survive, but thrive through these times. And then the last F is fatigue. And so we're going to talk today about ways that you can, from a mindset perspective, avoid burnout, avoid anxiety, and ultimately keep yourself in a positive space to keep moving forward. So let's start with that fear one, if you don't mind, Jenny, because obviously there's a lot of unknowns. And some of you out there may not be in real estate. Maybe you're in businesses that have been deemed non-essential, which means you essentially had to close down. And, if James Shaw really is on this call, I want to just give a huge shout out to all the stuff that he's been doing, because he has just stepped up to the plate and been amazing. And when you look at being non-essential and not being able to conduct business, what's come from James's group that I absolutely love is the difference between picking up market share and mind share. And so I think that it's important today we spend a little bit of time talking about what does getting mind share look like. And I think we could even take that one step further, Jenny, and go, how do we get heart share? How do we get the heart share of our community? Right. And so we'll dig in on that. I've got some stuff prepared that we can talk through that. But, if we start off with this fear thing and getting real and get right, what I recently had the opportunity to do back in February is I went to Oprah's 2020 Vision Tour. And we were down in Dallas for Keller Williams National Convention. And I snuck off one day and spent the whole day with 16,999 women and me and Oprah. And it was amazing. It was so amazing to listen to her and her story. And she said something that really stuck with me. And she didn't say it exactly this way, but this is what I heard. She said that your fear asks questions. And you know that it's asking questions because generally, Jenny, they start with what if, right? What if my business doesn't survive this? What if we run out of money? And so what Oprah talked about is what's different about her is that when her fear talks, she actually writes the question down. What's the question your fear is asking you, right? So first, let's pull it out of your head. Understand that fear lives in the head, not in the heart. So pull it out of your head and get it down on paper. What's the question it's asking? Because fear can be a great friend. It can be preparing you. And once you've done that, that's where we really want to take a look at it and start to build some plans. Now, the military has this great acronym. It's called PACE, P-A-C-E. And the P stands for primary, A stands for alternate, C stands for contingency, and E stands for emergency. So let's take the example of, what if my business closes and I can't make money? Okay, what if that actually happens? Getting real and get right is not about living in the clouds, being Pollyanna, right? You can sit there in your garden and chant that there are no weeds, but weeds are going to grow. You got to learn how to look at them and pull them out, right? And so what's our primary plan if your business does shut down? If it takes 3 to 6 months for us to really come out of this, what would you do? And if that didn't work, what would be your alternate plan? And if that didn't work, what's your contingency plan? And then ultimately, what's your emergency plan? See, I don't think most people, I know I never did until I went to that vision tour. I don't think we really listen to the questions that fear asks us and let it prepare us for whatever it is that's coming. And if we would slow down, document the question, what's it really saying? What's it really asking? And then put it into a 4-part plan. What happens is, it's like when my little 4-year-old, I can tell her 1,000 times that the boogeyman or whoever is not hiding in her closet, but until I flip the light on and show her that there is no boogeyman there, she doesn't believe me. Your fear is there to protect you. It's there to provide. And yet you've got to turn the light on by asking the questions and creating a plan around it. So when we're dealing with fear, if we're getting real and getting right, that's the first thing that I would really encourage everyone here to be digging into and listening to, right? And make sure that you're not just living in the loop that fear creates. It's the unknown that gives it, really, that really tortures us. And it's like that old saying, I always butcher this quote, Jenny, but a coward dies 1,000 deaths. A warrior only dies one, because the coward's always worried about the death that never comes, right? And so what that leads us to is the idea and the question that I would ultimately ask you right now as a business owner, as a leader in your community and getting your mindset real and right. The question I would ask you is, how well are you leading yourself? And so rather than having you write this all out or draw it all out, I'm just going to show you what I mean. So can you see this, Jenny?
Yeah, we got it.
This triangle over on the left-hand side, I ripped this off from a guy named Ben Kinney, who is the #1 agent, I think, in Keller Williams. I have a very simple rule: go to the best first. But he was on a live stream last summer and shared this with us, and it really changed the way I coach. It changed the way that I work with people. And he said that if you're going to have a great life, if you're going to be, a true visionary or a true leader, that this is the path to do it. And he said the first thing you have to do is get really good at leading yourself. And that means that you make the right decisions for yourself, for your family, and for your business. Because I'm not just talking about your business here. We're talking about your whole life, right? And he said, once you get really good at leading yourself, meaning you have the disciplines and the habits, you make the decisions of a high-performing person in your role, you earn the right to lead others. And see, when you lead others well, when you develop that track record of leadership, then you start to create leaders. And when you create leaders, you start to attract leaders. Now, Jenny, you've probably heard me talk about this. I refer to this a lot. But see, leading myself is all about making the right decisions. Now, we're talking about mindset, right? We're talking about how to get real and get right. And, on the other side of fear is also anxiety. And I've said that, when you are experiencing anxiety, it's usually one of three things. So write this down. Number one, there are things that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing. So if you're experiencing anxiety, there are things that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing. Or number two, there are things that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. Maybe it's you're laying around watching Netflix, sipping on a beer all day instead of figuring out what you could do to further your business or further your community or something productive.
Yeah.
And then the last one is we're trying to control the uncontrollable. What's the uncontrollable that you're trying to control, right? You can't control the virus. You can't control the impact that it has on the economy. Now, we can all do our part, socially distance, do the things that the CDC is asking of us. And yet, learning how to dance with fear and learning how to get out of anxiety are all really important parts right now in regards to leading yourself. But because when you lead yourself well, you make the right decisions. And here's what I think a decision is, Jenny. A decision is ultimately a habit. Okay, let me back that up. A habit is ultimately a decision made automatically. A habit is a decision made automatically. We want to make your success habitual, right? And so when you think about making the right decisions habitually, it's all about developing good judgment. Developing good judgment. And see, the hard part about developing good judgment, Jenny, is that good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. So you fail your way to success, right? But if we're talking to a business owner, you're an agent, or you own a business in Tulsa, the question I'm asking right now is, how are your decisions? What are the habits that you're creating? What are the habits, the good habits that you had before this happened, that because you're in fear or anxiety that maybe you're destroying? And so are you paying attention to that leading myself? Are you leading yourself at a 10 right now? Because if not, let's start looking at some other, some of the areas of your life. And this is something that we reference often. It's from a book called The One Thing. And what Gary has here is, Gary Keller, who is the author of this, is he put together the 7 areas of your life. So your spiritual life, your physical health, personal life, your key relationships, your job, your business, your finances. And look, you may not have control over your business or your job right now. That may be in the control of someone or something else. But guess what? You still control these right here, right? Are you leading yourself well on this half of this graph? Because there's no reason not to be right now, so that when you do come out of this thing, when we do come out of this, you're ready to go instead of just getting started.
Yeah, Jordan, I'll comment on these 7 circles. They are so important to me in how I have built out my GPS, my 411. So this is a hack I share with everyone when they're working to figure out what is important to them. Go into each of these 7 circles and write out your future amazing life that you see for yourself. This is called goal setting to the now. And then you chop it down to 5 years from now and 1 year from now. And guess what 1 year from now is? That's your 411. That's your annual goal. And so every week you encourage me highly to send you my 411. And every bit of those 7 circles are represented in the categories that I have inside of my 411.
Yeah. Yep. That's so important. And the thing of it is, Jenny, is that we can still lead ourselves well in so many areas of our lives. But if you're putting all your focus, and let's just say you're non-essential, You're putting all your focus and your finances in your business right now. You're trying to control an uncontrollable, and you're just worrying. You're in fear, and you're not writing those questions down and answering them. You're not leading yourself well, right? And so now's a time that we really could be looking at, okay, Gary Keller talks about this, that he has a superpower, and his superpower is his ability to select and create the habits that support his success. And so when he looks to a goal, he asks the question, what is the one habit that would absolutely help me achieve that goal, that would put me on the fast track to that goal? Yeah. And so that would be my question to any of you if I was coaching you personally, and your business is struggling right now. I get that. And yet, what's the one habit that you could create from this whole event, this whole coronavirus, such that by doing it, your future self wouldn't just thank you, it would give you a bear hug. It would be so happy with you. What is the one keystone habit you need right now? So when we're talking about, again, getting real and getting right, Jenny, working with fear, right? And then the finance piece we're gonna talk about in just a second. But then the last F is fatigue. And the reason I'm bringing this up again right now is because of what we just showed you with the 7 circles. And, fatigue is really important because, or keeping yourself in what I would consider to be an energy rich state right now is important, because your nervous system is constantly triggered into fight or flight right now because of what's happening in the world. It's sitting there zapping your energy because your brain is alerted to what's going on. So you're constantly in this fight flight mode. And so what we want you to put together, and the reason that I showed you that graph, is that it's time to develop an energy plan. It's time for you to get really intentional about the energy that you bring to your day and to your life. And again, I don't know who I'm talking to from a business perspective. It doesn't matter, because this is foundational. And so I just want to show you an example of what that would look like, an energy plan. Again, this comes from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, which is not Shift or the One Thing, but again, it's a business book. It doesn't matter if you're in real estate or not. It's an amazing book. But Gary has put together this plan that he follows that allows him to be energy rich. And so my question back to leading yourself well is, how are you avoiding fatigue when the world is constantly triggering you? You have every reason to be on alert. What's your plan to keep yourself healthy and balanced? Because what we want to do is avoid fatigue, right? We want to be strong, especially when this thing lifts. Again, I want you to be ready to go instead of just getting started.
Yeah, Jordan, I want to insert something here. I was just reviewing the One Thing and back to Counterbalance. So the Counterbalance is crucial in this, and exactly you just shared. I mean, I know that so many people are adding in more family time than ever before. That's how you get your energy up, and family walks and things like that. And at the same time, to be counterbalanced with still focused on your goals and your business. You want to chat to that for a minute?
Well, how to stay counterbalanced with your goals.
Yeah, right. Like you could go too far extreme with the time at home, or
yeah. I mean, I would agree. And see, I think, Jenny, that the thing that happens in times like this is that we spend the first couple of weeks playing defense, right? And so defense is all about expense management. It's about protecting your profit margin. It's about making sure that we have enough reserves. And then eventually, to your point, we've got to go back on offense. And so what I know about people is, without a vision, without something to move towards, people perish. And so a question that I would ask you again is, what's your goal for the next 90 days? What do you intend to accomplish in the next 90 days? Because if we're talking about that balancing act, Jenny, and all of your focus is on, your family, and it feels like you don't have anything that's moving forward, there is a fundamental law with humans, and that is progress equals happiness. Anywhere you're happy with something, it's because you're making progress. And if you're not balancing this and making progress in the different areas of your life, then it's real easy to kind of get sucked in and not feeling so good. And that out of balance mindset really starts to show up. So the thing I would invite people to consider is dreaming a little bit. Go on offense here. We've been on defense. But what's the vision for the next 90 days? And I think there's a great question that's been passed around a few times, Jenny, but what can you do right now so that when you look back at this point in history, you look back and you're proud of how you handled yourself? What is it that, to the question I asked earlier, what is it that we could be doing now that our future self would thank us for?
To me, that takes us to what I know we're going to talk about, is you saying that now is our time for heart share.
That's right.
That's how we're going to be proud of ourselves.
Yeah. So let's just, stick with that for a second. Heart share. So I'm in a non-essential business, right? And this is, fortunately for many agents, realtors, we're still essential. But look, there are some states, Colorado 2 days ago, just deemed real estate non-essential. No more showings, no more open houses. It's all shut down. And so what do we do then, right? And that's where I think we've got to get real focused on mind share and really heart share. And from that, the question is, the 4 H's. This is what we came up with yesterday, Jenny, on a call with somebody from Colorado. I said, so here are the 4 things that I would invite you to inject into your community: happiness, humor, hope, and help. Happiness, humor, hope, and help. So how do you do that, right? Like, what is your intentional plan of connecting with your community that way? And so what he and I did is we created some different tactics that he could ultimately focus on. So one of them was for us to create a 5-point list for how people can save money right now. So everything from getting reviewing your insurance deductibles. Maybe we need to look at refinancing. We came up with a 5-bulleted list of how we can help people save money today.
You're going to share that list. I know you will.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it, and we'll definitely share it, right? And humor, the thing that he's doing, and he called me out on this, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it, but he is doing karaoke live. You get on Facebook Live, and he actually did it. He got on there and sang karaoke with his people. And so that's more of the humor part. But here's the thing, is that people really need a voice of leadership and hope right now, and just knowing that we're going to get through this. And I think, Jenny, you do such a great job at this, spotlighting local businesses that are still open for business and can still help people out there, and putting together resources that make it simple, for people to live through this time. Another one that, we're working on is the 5 most or the most fun things you can do at home with your kids. Creating lists and things like that, or getting the kids involved. What can we have the kids doing that would give the kids one of them, my favorite one, was from a teacher. She said, if you just need like a 10-minute break from your children, ask them to run through the house and count how many windows and how many power outlets there are. So little cute ideas and things like that you can share. And then what is the expertise that you have that you can bring to the marketplace right now? How do you make yourself available to answer questions, to be a resource? And see, what happens is you're getting into the heart share and the mind share of people. And when your business does come back, again, I've said this before and I'll keep saying it, you're ready to go instead of just getting started.
Well, I would like us to, I think that most people have realized that it's valuable to look at their expenses, cut what they can, apply for the loans that they can. Let's just touch on that really quick because I feel like there's so much value in the heart pieces and the what we can do for our community and our teams.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Jenny. There's only one thing that I would probably add to what you just said, and it's the. I'm going to just share this so everybody can write this down. But when it comes to reducing your expenses, there is 5 ways to do that. I call it KRONC, KRONC. And so when you're looking at your budget, again, this is personally and or in your business. What are the expenses, the things that you're going to have to keep? They're essential, right? They contribute to profit. What are the things that you can replace? So you're looking at this and going, okay, what is or who is another company that can provide this to us at a lower rate? Offset is asking either who else can pay for this or help me pay for this, or how can I share this service with somebody else to reduce the expense? And then I think negotiate is the one that a lot of people are doing, but I don't know that they're doing it across the board. They're not looking at everything and going to people or companies and saying, hey, we really want to keep you in our budget. We really love your service. And yet, I just don't know if we can keep it unless there's a reduction. Is there anything you can do for me? So making those calls and seeing how we can negotiate money down, expenses down, and then ultimately it's cutting, right? That's when we're just looking to remove something. And a lot of times I think people get hung up on this one too, that it doesn't have to be cut forever. It doesn't have to be cut permanently. It can be cut and just paused. What can we just pause from your monthly expenses? So yeah, I think everything you just said is great. You know, apply for the SBA loan that works best for you. You need a 3 to 6 month cash reserve as quickly as possible. And if you don't have that and can't get to it right now, your first order when you get back into business is to save a 6-month reserve at home and in your business for times like this. And then use the KRONC methodology, because a lot of times people only look at it from what can I cut and what can I keep. And there's some gray area in there. There's other ways that we can help reduce expenses for you. So yeah.
I love it. Well, Jordan, what would you share with everyone about what we can do with our teams or our employees?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So the biggest thing there is, number one, if you're still working and have people engaged, right? Like meaning you're still open for business. What are you doing to create as much of an office-like environment as you can, right? So whether that's having everybody on Zoom together during certain hours of the day. One thing that I've heard, Jenny, I think there's a big question that we all have to ask ourselves as business owners, and that is, what's never going to go back to the way it was before? You know, and again, no matter what industry you're in, what is going to change forever from this? And how can you capitalize on that and be an early adopter of it? You know, like for example, real estate, I think we're going to see a lot more virtual appointments even after this is over. I think a lot of people, both buyers, sellers, and agents really like that and find it to be more efficient. And so that's the first thing, is how are you connecting your people? And the hard part of this, Jenny, and that it's the work that a lot of people don't want to do, is just calling and having conversations with your people and asking one simple question. How are you? How are you really? And what can we do for you, if anything? And really, again, taking the things that we talked about earlier around fear and anxiety and passing that along to help give them tools that they can use to deal with this is critically important right now. But as much as we can do to maintain culture and communicate together, what I see is kind of one of two things, Jenny. There's real no middle ground. It's either they're just completely cutting themselves off, they're not communicating at all, or they're trying to like really stay engaged. And the really staying engaged group is, man, it feels like they're moving mountains. They're just really moving things forward. It's awesome.
All right, so I know that we're gonna need to really share some awesome tactics of what we can be doing right now to either generate more business or at least build up our pipeline for the future. So, what are you seeing with your coaching clients that are allowing them to stay in activity, generate business during
Okay.
these times?
Okay. So one thing off the bat on that, Jenny, is that if you're non-essential or are not able to work, the question that I would be asking you is, what are your three to thrive?
Mhm.
And the three to thrive answers the question, in your industry, what are the three opportunities that COVID is going to open up or has opened up? So for example, if you're a restaurant, one big opportunity is, being able to deliver all of your meals, right? And so when we are reaching out to people, we want to have a really, really great approach to what opportunities are available. So I would start with, what opportunities are available in your industry that you need to share with your community, right? The other one, Jenny, and you've heard me talk about this 1,000 times, is the reverse bold 100.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether you're a realtor or an insurance person, you own a yoga studio, this next idea really works. And so the first thing that you do is you choose a gift, a giveaway. So one of the most popular ones right now, Jenny, are gift cards to local restaurants. And because you're supporting local businesses. And what you do is you pick a date, like let's just say we're going to do this next Friday, and you're going to give these gift cards away. All people have to do is call in on that Friday from 9 to 4, right? Think of it like winning tickets on the radio. And they call in, you take the call. And what that does is it just gives you the chance to communicate and talk with them, right? If we're going back to that heart conversation, Jenny, how many businesses that you are a client of or have ever been a client of have sent you an email about COVID-19 and how they're handling it? All of them, right? Like I've gotten like 50 or 60 of these things. How many people have picked up the phone and just called you and said, "Hey, Jenny, how are you?
Not
How's, yeah, how, not one, not one, right?" So when we're talking about mind share and heart share, and no matter what business you're in, we all have a community or a database, a list of past clients or people that we know, like, and trust. And have you picked up the phone and just started calling them and asking that simple question of how are you? But if we shift back to the bold 100, the idea is to get at least 100 people to call in that day. Now, you don't have to be asking for business or even talking about business. Again, it's just about connecting with people and trying to give them something that they can actually use in today's climate, right? So that would be number one, is the reverse bold 100. And the other thing, the three to thrive would totally be my other approach. And then lastly, no matter what business you're in, I know this sounds a little weird, but who are your competitors that aren't going to make it? And how do we start looking at taking some of their market share? Now, again, that's not a heart share conversation. It's a strategic conversation. But understand that everybody's getting hit right now. And who are the competitors of yours that may not survive this either? And how can you capitalize on
Well, and Jordan, a part of our conversations right now is implementing the golden handoff, and that even relates to this. I mean, you could be, this is heart share if you have you have agents in your market. It's just time for them to get out of the business anyway, and now happens to speed that up for them. What could that sound like, and what would that plan look like if someone doesn't know what the golden handoff is?
Yeah. So, and again, Jenny, I think you brought up a great point there, because it doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? The golden handoff is a plan that allows people to continue to earn a residual income off of their book of business for up to 3 years. And again, if you're a business owner, you're going to see a lot of people who don't survive this. And it doesn't mean that the book of business they've spent, maybe years or decades building is worthless. There's still value there. And what I love about the golden handoff, Jenny, is the win-win it creates. It creates a win for the agent or the person who's leaving the industry, and it creates a win for the person that's absorbing those clients. And it creates a really clear plan on how to maximize that.
And it creates a win for those people who had a trusted, loving partner in real estate, and now they're exiting the market, they're exiting the business. Why not leave them in good hands with someone else who has a plan and will love on them equally?
For sure. For sure. So yeah, that's a really great point. But again, with, the, how do I get myself into action right now? It's get real clear about what your vision is for 90 days, right? What's the one thing that you intend to accomplish? You can do the reverse bold 100, make those care calls to people, create the 3 to thrive, get the golden handoff. These are all things that we could be doing, whether we're essential or non-essential right now. Great points.
Well, James Shaw has a question, so we want to definitely answer that for him for all he does for us. He says, if you feel stuck, what's the first step you could take to get moving again?
Well, okay, so that's a great question, and no pressure here from the great James Shaw. But whenever somebody feels stuck, whether it's, from something like this or another event, I always just play a little game with them. And so I say, Jenny, describe the emotional state to me that you're in. And you'll say, I'm stuck, I'm frustrated, I'm burned out, whatever. Perfect. Okay. So what you're telling me is that you know how to achieve that state of mind. You are an achiever at getting stuck, correct? You know how to do it. So I'm going to play a silly game with you, Jenny, and I want you to play along. Okay. And so, Jenny, I want to learn how to get stuck. I really want to nail this. And you know how to do it. So I want you to teach me how to do it. And so what happens, James, is that when you take people through that process, they start listing out all the ways that they got themselves into this position. And you just start brain downloading this. We're just like looking at, okay, what else? What do I have to think? What do I have to focus on? One of my favorite questions during this process is, so Jenny, if I just took a tape recorder and stuck it in your head, what's the voice, what's the conversation I would hear inside of you? And what happens is we bring all of this to the awareness that they created getting stuck in the first place. They see the pattern of how to get stuck. And because they get aware of what the pattern is, they get real clear about how to get unstuck. Does that make sense? Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah.
So
like it.
If you need to figure out, how to get moving again, that the thing that process also does is that, I also say to people all the time, you need to start with a blank canvas. And so when a great artist decides to make an amazing painting, they don't take an existing painting and start painting over it. If you're going to get unstuck, first we got to clear the canvas. Let's get rid of all this emotional crap. Let's get it all off. And the way that we do that is by you becoming hyper aware of how you got there in the first place. It's the thought processes, the focuses that created it.
I want to share another tactic that you helped me with this week. I shared with you that I didn't feel like I was winning at something. And you then asked me, well, why don't you just share how you worded that? Do you remember?
Not exactly. It's been a long week. So I think it was something to the effect that your expectation was that something would happen and it would have been better than it was. And I just asked you a simple question, which was, Jenny, did you define winning? Right? Is that what you're referring to?
That's exactly right. And that was an amazing aha, because if you don't, not just me, anyone, if you don't define what winning looks like, by having something that's measurable, then you don't know if you're winning or losing. And I was floating in feeling like a loser until we made a definition of what winning looks like. I even used that in talking with a team member. It just was such a great aha. So I hope everyone will choose to use that. Is you need to define what you're looking for in order to feel one way or the other about it.
Yeah, you to define it in order to find it. And and it doesn't matter what we're talking about. One of the first questions we ask is, how do you define winning here? because the quicker you can do that, I mean, you could take that to the 90-day question that we asked. And what do I have to achieve in the next 90 days to feel that I am winning, and get very clear, crystal clear about what that is. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really great point.
Well, we are getting down on time, and I want to make sure we have some impactful last minutes together. What would you say is something that we want to touch on that we hadn't gotten to yet before we open it up for some questions?
I think again that the importance of vision, and I just want to share with you a really quick coaching model on this. We call it BPAR. And I didn't create a diagram on this, I should have, but I can explain it super easy. So what I want you to do is write the word belief, and then draw an arrow out to the right and put the word potential. Draw an arrow down from potential, and underneath potential, write action. And then go out to the left, and underneath belief, write result, and draw an arrow from action to result. And then draw an arrow up from result to belief. And now you've got this cycle, right? Are you with me? Does it make sense?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I think my diagram got a little off, but you keep going. I'm sure the other people got it.
So there's this guy, this is the best example that I come up with. There's a guy named Roger Bannister. And if you don't know who he was, Roger Bannister was the first person to ever run a 4-minute mile. And before them, it was thought to be humanly impossible, right? You couldn't do it. In fact, they thought that if you ran the 4-minute mile, you would instantly die. Roger Bannister set out that he was going to run the 4-minute mile. He was going to do it. So what he did is he had an unwavering belief that he could do it. He believed in the possibility. And when you believe in the possibility to the level that he did, you tap that level of certainty, you really tap into a lot of potential, a ton of potential. And when you're tapping into a lot of potential, you create a tremendous amount of action. And when you're taking a tremendous amount of action, your belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in the form of a result. And then it reinforces what you believed in the first place. And oftentimes when I'm coaching people and we talk about their goal and they go, well, we'll see what happens. Like, stop. With that level of belief, how much potential are you tapping into? None. How much action are you going to take? Little. And then you're going to reinforce the belief that you started with. So I can't stress enough the importance of having a vision right now and getting so clear and get that level of belief completely tapped that you can and will do this, and activate that potential, take massive action, and you'll get the result. That's the last thing that I want everybody to hear is we will move out of this. And yet, are you creating your vision for your future in advance now and getting yourself so wrapped up in that you come out swinging towards your goal, swinging towards the result? Yeah. That's what I want you to hear.
Wow, that's good stuff. So I can see any questions that you have in the chat box if you guys are watching there. And then also on Facebook Live, I can also see if you want to ask a question. I don't have any, just pending. So we can keep going for now if you want to come up with any other tidbits. The only thing that we didn't really get to, you asked this part about, vision. Is it alive and important to you right now? What do you think on do you reframe your vision of what this year looks like due to our current situation? I've heard of some saying, just take your original GPS and throw it away, or reframe it or amend it. I've heard different opinions on that.
I mean, my question on that, and I've heard the same thing, is what's the harm in continuing at your previous goal, right? There's that old cliche saying of, if you shoot for the stars, you might miss and hit the moon. Well, I'd rather miss and hit the moon than miss and hit the ocean, right? And so aim high is the thing that I would encourage people to consider. Now, if you are non-essential and your business is shutting down, sure, things are going to be different moving forward, right? But I've had a lot of conversations with people where what we've done is looked at what our June goal was, just the month of June, and multiplied it times 1.5 and said, okay, that's your June goal. And what's interesting, Jenny, is oftentimes I'm met with, oh, I don't know that I can do this. I don't know if I can do that. And I just ask a very simple question. And the question is, who's the person you love most in the world? And they say, it's my son, my daughter, whatever. And I say, okay, God forbid your son or daughter gets sick. You take them to the doctor. Doctor says, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that we can save them. The bad news is that it requires a life-saving surgery. I'm the only doctor that can do it. And I don't take cash. I don't take credit. In this example, it's going to take 15 closings in the month of June for me to do the surgery and save your kid. So if that was on the line, if that was what was really at stake, would you look at your kid and go, man, it was nice knowing you. Let's enjoy these next couple of months? Or would you activate your awesome? Would you move from the wimp to the warrior? Would you get after it like never before? And see, the question is how do I get you to want your goal that badly? Because when I can get you to want and desire it that badly, you'll take the necessary action today. And I don't know about you, I would rather miss shooting at 15 than miss shooting at 10 or 8 or whatever. And so there comes a point, most business people have been activating or have been behaving because of how good the economy is in a passive or an active role. Now, if you're going to survive, you have to be aggressive. If you're going to thrive, you have to attack. And that's the point of the vision and moving forward is, are you truly activating your awesome? Are you doing what you can when you can to maximize your opportunity for your family?
That's great. I activate awesome is going to be our hashtag for today. I see a question here from Theresa. She says, when reaching out to your database, she's a B2B company, so she's not working with buyers and sellers like maybe like real estate agents. But how do you communicate to other businesses that now isn't the time to sit back and do nothing without sounding insensitive to their fears?
Well, I think it depends on your relationship with them, right? I mean, on one hand, if Jenny is a friend of mine that owns a business, and Jenny, I know you had a conversation with someone in your life that owns a business like this. And I think it's just getting very real with them. And I would use a future pacing type of thing. Whenever I'm going to coach someone, I always ask their permission first. Do I have permission to coach you on this? Or do I have your permission to ask you a direct question? And so my direct question would be, are you concerned at all at the financial impact that not doing anything right now may have on you in June or July?
Yeah.
Or if it's not somebody that you have that level of rapport or could have that level of a conversation with, the thing that I would maybe look to is creating a survival guide, something that you can show them. People need to see evidence of things, and to say, here are 5 or 10 things that you could be doing as a small business owner right now. Because oftentimes they just need a spark. They need something, a new idea, something put in their mind. We did this last week. I created the COVID survival kit for real estate agents, and it had 20 different ideas of things that they could be doing on it. And it created a lot of good momentum and conversations, especially with people that can't do anything right now, to keep them in action, to keep them moving forward. So if you can't have that direct conversation, I would probably put together a list or a survival kit of things that small businesses could be doing now that would help them prepare for when the doors can open again.
Well, and if you are a small business owner or you are a real estate agent like us, then these are great conversations to be having with other small businesses. So you're adding value to them during these tough times.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody just asked for me to share that, Jenny, and I'm getting the link right now so that I can pop that into the chat box. And anybody that wants to click on this, you'll see that I didn't get my degree in design. There's nothing pretty about it, but it does give you plenty of examples of things that, again, whether your business is real estate or not, would work for you.
So those that are watching in Facebook land, I will copy that and share it later in the group. You are amazing. You are awesome. You are going to help us activate our awesome. What do you encourage those of us busybodies and doers to do over the weekends? Or are too many of us in adrenaline overload still, or are we slowing down and taking a breath again? What do you
I mean,
see?
that's up to you, Jenny. I don't know what your pace is, but here's the thing that I know is that I follow a very simple principle when I coach people. I don't have the right to tell you what to do, how to think, or how to be. I don't have the right to tell you what's important and what's not. I do follow this very simple principle that is called best life, best advice. And so again, I always go to when someone is struggling, stuck, needs some inspiration, doesn't know what to do, right? I go to the question of who do you love most in the world? In your case, it's Mia. All right. Mia calls you 25 years down the road. Mom, I've got a business. This pandemic hit. I don't know what to do. What do I do? And I know you, Jenny, you wouldn't just sit there and say nothing. You would say something. What is the advice you would give to the person you love most in the same circumstance that you have right now? Because that is your best advice. When you're giving advice to the people you care about most, that is the deepest well that you have of wisdom. And when you live that advice, when you have the courage to live that advice, you're living your best life. So when it comes to this weekend and the questions and answers and things that you're looking for right now, I would invite you to really tap into the courage and the wisdom that you have and live the advice you would give to the other people you really care
And that's how you get me to tears. Great, great for my daughter and my love for her.
Dang it, I did it again. Yeah. So.
Well, I am so grateful for you. I am so grateful for all those agents, those business owners, those salespeople, all the people that are focusing on learning and growing and continuing to build themselves up and make themselves better. Appreciate you, Jordan. I look forward to talking to you next week, and have an amazing weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Jenny.
Bye.